Hello and welcome to Gadget Joe, and today we're taking a look at a 165Hz gaming monitor for less than £100. Yes, that's right. In today's video we're taking a look at a gaming monitor that is less than £100. Now what's more is this is a gaming monitor that comes with 165Hz refresh rate and 1 millisecond grey to grey response times. This is the, I'm probably going to butcher the name, this is the Koorui. I'm not entirely sure how to say the name, but I'm going to call it Koorui for the purpose of this video. This is the Koorui 24E3 monitor, and it's a 24-inch 1080p IPS display, and it's less than £100. In fact, you can pick it up currently for £99.99 at Back to the Office. I will, as always, leave a link in the description down below so that you can go and check it out for yourself. But in today's video, what we're going to do is take a look at the display itself, the unboxing experience, get it all put together, run through some of the specs, and then I'm going to do some testing on the display to see what exactly you get for £100 and whether a £100 gaming monitor actually is worth it. The Koorui has an impressive specifications list for the price point, with a 24-inch Full HD 1080p IPS LCD display with a 16:9 aspect ratio. It features a 1000:1 contrast ratio and an impressive 20 million to 1 dynamic colour contrast ratio, with 99% sRGB colour gamut, a 178 degree wide viewing angle and a 93 pixel per inch pixel density, alongside a fast 165Hz refresh rate and a supposed 1 millisecond grey to grey response time, all of which we'll put to the test very shortly. Open it up and you get a neatly organised foam tray of accessories. You get a power brick. The power supply is built into the monitor itself, a display port cable, user manual, and then the stand itself in two parts, then obviously the monitor. The monitor is a nice panel with very thin bezels going around the edges, ideal if you want to combine 2 or 3 together. It does have a chin on it, but it's a pretty small one at that, with the Koorui logo in the centre. It does have an anti-glare matte effect coating to reduce any reflections, and it feels nice and sturdy, especially for a price point. In terms of I/O connectivity, it has 2 HDMI 1.4 ports, a display port and audio out port, and a DC charger port. To set the stand up, all you have to do is take the arm and the base plate and join them up with these 2 parts, and it simply clicks in together. No tools needed at all. To attach the stand to the monitor, you have to slide this bracket into the mount at the rear of the monitor and slide it all the way until it clicks in and you're good to go. The design is nice and striking, with features such as a modern gaming aesthetic with some nice red accents on the back with some aggressive stripes going along the length of the rear. When it comes to adjustment for the monitor, it's a little bit limited. You can unfortunately tilt it either side. It is pretty much fixed, but you can tilt it back and forth, so you can lift it up if you need to, and obviously tilt it down again if you need to. Ideal if you have multiple setups or you're wanting to do it at a lower desk rate, but it would be nice to be able to see if you could have a little bit more adjustment to rotate it either side. There is a small thumbstick toggle button at the back too, close to the edge, that can navigate the on-screen menu. The on-screen menu is pretty simple, but does everything it needs to adjust for colour temperature, picture modes, output and more. When it came to using a 24E3, I was left very impressed with the monitor. The picture looks nice, vibrant, sharp and relatively colour accurate, considering it's a 1080p IPS panel. It performs very well. The contrast isn't amazing, but that's to be expected with the panel that it is. But with that said, it still looks very clear, and the blacks look black, the whites look white, which is pretty much all you're going to need for a monitor of this price point. The only thing it does suffer with is the brightness. It's not the brightest monitor on the market by a long shot, and in a well lit room it may start to look quite dim. But with that said, it still works very well and is plenty bright enough for most scenarios, and most people consume content or play games in relatively darkened areas anyway. This video really shows the dynamic contrast in action, which effectively boosts the sharpness and colour accuracy. The picture certainly doesn't look like a £100 monitor for sure. It looks like a much higher priced display, which is great to see. Gameplay is great too, thanks to that 165Hz refresh rate. As you can see, the visuals not only look fantastic and vibrant, but they are buttery smooth and fluid. It's really nice to see such a high refresh rate for that price point. That fast 1 millisecond grey to grey response time helps too, and the games look fantastic. And you can switch it to game mode to suit the style of game you are playing too, and you can even add a crosshair to the centre of the display for the extra advantage in shooting games. The addition of FreeSync to sync up the monitor with your graphics card is a nice touch too. Editing videos is even a nice experience on the 24E3, albeit a little bit smaller than I would traditionally like to use. The 99% sRGB colour gamut helps significantly here too in terms of colour grading. The high refresh rate works well for video scrubbing, and overall it works really well. Some of the detail will be missing, naturally due to it being a 1080p panel, but as a beginner or budget setup for someone starting out video editing, it is more than ideal. As for photo editing, although workable, you would probably benefit looking into a higher end display. When it came to testing the 24E3, I ran it through a few variant tests, the main one being done by the OSRTT response time tool, which runs the display through multiple tests, and what we found here is that the 165Hz refresh rate did indeed hold true, and it performed very well with little to no RGB overshoot values, a respectable visual response rating, and an average initial response time of just 4.31 milliseconds, with a best score of 4 milliseconds, which is a little short of a 1 millisecond quoted, but they do state that it is 1 millisecond grey to grey rather than motion picture response time, but still very impressive nonetheless. I also ran the display through ISO's online testing facilities, a rather simple and basic but effective test to look at things like test patterns for consistencies and accuracy, defective pixel tests on multiple coloured backgrounds, backlight uniformity, RGB colour distancing, gradient blending capabilities, sharpness of text on both white and black backgrounds, viewing angles, gamma testing and basic response time testing. And the 24E3 performed admirably across all of these tests with nice clear text and patterns, uniform backlighting and colour representation. Finally, I ran some slightly more intensive tests on testufo.com. Here the site reads the refresh rate of a display, which is 165Hz, and shows a little UFO animation at assorted FPS to showcase the clarity of the image. This is all a little difficult to perceive on camera. There's gameplay sampling at 165 frames per second, vertical scrolling clarity, black frame insertion, optical illusions designed to showcase its ability to assist in eye tracking at the full 165Hz speed, a motion picture response time tool which actually yielded some impressive results at 1 millisecond persistence level, moving photo tests and stutter and tearing tests. And once again, the 24E3 performed very well across all tests. Again, a lot of these are very difficult to perceive through the eyes of a camera, but the results speak for themselves with some impressive results. And that pretty much wraps up our review of the Koorui 24E3, a very, very capable monitor. Now, when it comes to getting a gaming monitor, there are different things that you have to take into consideration. Now, generally speaking, a gaming monitor needs a fast high refresh rate, and that has this with 165Hz. Now obviously you can get higher refresh rates, but expect to be paying a little bit more of a premium for those. You also need a fast response time. Now when it comes to response times, there's different factors to consider. I'll announce them more in a video very near in the future to really explain what you need to be looking for in terms of response times. But this one has a 1 millisecond grey to grey response time, and as we saw with the OSRTT testing, it actually has an initial and perceived response time of around 4 milliseconds, which is still very impressive for a display that's less than £100. You're also going to have to take into consideration things like the colour gamut and obviously the different modes that you can have in terms of gameplay. Some games will require a much dimmer image so that you can really hone in on the certain details, and then obviously some games will like a really bright contrasting display so that you can really take full advantage of all the details and colours. Games such as Fortnite really do take advantage of displays like this. Also, you're going to take into consideration factors such as the screen quality. So what you have here is a 1080p display. This is pretty much the lowest that you can get on the market currently. Obviously you can get 720p displays, but they are very, very hard to find nowadays. Picture resolution, as you can see scrolling through this video here, it looks absolutely fantastic, and 1080p looks really good even now in 2024. Considering the fact that this is again a £100 monitor, it is pretty much where you would expect it to be. Considering the fact that it is a 24-inch panel as well, I find that 1080p really does work quite well up to about 27 inches, and then you can start to notice a deterioration in the quality of the image. You can obviously then go to 1440p, which is often known as Quad HD, That obviously delivers a much sharper, clearer image. Then obviously you can go to 4K, and then obviously there's even 6K, 8K monitors out there now. But again, you're going to pay a premium when you go up in resolution. To get a monitor around the £100 price point, you're going to be expecting a 1080p display. Now this one really does deliver quite well because it has the best of all aspects that I've just mentioned for the price point. The fact that you get 165Hz refresh rate on a display like this with a 1080p, really nice, sharp, colourful image with that fast response time, and the ability to change some settings with the likes of FreeSync so that it really syncs up with your system better, really is a no-brainer. So if you're after a cheap monitor that you want to use as a gaming monitor, or you've got your child and you're wanting to set them up with a gaming system, and you don't really want to spend big money on a monitor, you couldn't really go anything wrong with a display like this. It's absolutely fantastic quality. There are a few things that I would like to see on it, but again, that's me being a little bit picky. It would be nice to see the ability to turn the screen left to right. Unfortunately, you only have up and down. You can't actually raise the display up further than what it actually is, or lower, so it is pretty much set at what you have with the stand. But with that said, you do have that laser mounted option so that you can put it on a monitor arm or alternatively a wall bracket, so that that will effectively combat that issue. The brightness also isn't the best. It is quite a dark display, which is a shame really because it's got all those other things going for it. But don't let that put you off because, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of people that do a lot of gaming often tend to have really dim setups so that they can really fully immerse themselves into the gameplay. And that's pretty much the only issues that I have with this. An absolutely faultless display. It really, really is fantastic value for the money. So as far as recommending a gaming monitor for less than £100, would I do that? Yes, with the Koorui 24E3, absolutely, hands down. This is probably one of the best bang for buck displays that you can get on the market currently for the price point. As always, I will leave a link in the description down below as to where you can get one for yourself. And once you're down there, don't forget to click like and subscribe to the channel so that you see more like this. We've also got some other monitors coming from the likes of Cooler Master and other companies, and we have lots more coming. So please make sure you have subscribed so that you don't miss out on any of those. And that's pretty much it from me for this review. I've been Gadget Joe. This has been the Koorui, possibly Koorui, whatever you want to call it, Koorui 24E3 24-inch 165Hz 1 millisecond grey to grey response time monitor for less than £100. And until next time, goodbye.